Hello. Another podcast, Natives podcast. Special guest today. I have Pat Martin here that I think he's the most interesting man in Hobe Sound, but that's just my point. I think love him and his family and his everything about it. So I'm just excited for him to tell his story and get it out there. And so let's dive into Pat Martin and his history in Hobe Sound, because it goes back to
1934.
Okay, love it.
So if we're going to get started, we got to start with my grandparents. My grandfather was he had a company in New York that set up, rented, showed movies, movie picture equipment, cameras, all that stuff. And a lot of what he did was go to wealthy people's houses. Today you have a widescreen TV, and you have back then it was a real theater.
Yep.
People would set up in their houses. So he did a lot of that. He had contracts where he would go around to schools showing movies at the schools, because you got to understand, this was in the 20s. That was technology. That was, pretty cutting edge technology. Not every, was before the schools had their own equipment, and, you had the AV squad doing the work, So he did that, and he did some work for a man named William Barstow, who was instrumental in starting the club, the Hobe Sound Company, over on Jupiter Island. And when the Depression came, he was out of work for, several years. And they had this little cabin, which my mom still owns, out in the time. It was way out in the country in New Jersey. Now it's not so far out in the country. But they ended up, they lived there because it was a cheap place to live compared to New York. And he would take the bus into the city every day looking for a job. There was nothing. It was the Depression, And one day he gets a telegram from Mr. Barstow saying, I want you to come down to Hobe Sound and set up a theater. So they did it, and that back in the 30s, this was like going to South America or something. I mean, it was the jungle. It was. They pulled up into Hobe Sound, and A1A was the only road. There was no US 1 at that time. As a matter of fact, my grandmother used to call US 1 the new highway. So they get into town, and one time my uncle and my grandmother were talking. She said, we pulled into town, and there was nothing there but sand. And my uncle said, yeah, and you started to cry. Well, this was a person who had never left New York City, and then you're here. Snakes, bugs, all the stuff. So they set up what is now the Tangerine Theater on Jupiter Island, and we still have a copy of one of the contracts where my grandfather would run the theater, be the manager, take care of the equipment. He ended up bringing seats in from the Roxy Theater in New York, and those are still there, yeah.
Wow.
And big old cameras and everything, and projectors, I mean. And my grandmother would be the ticket taker, and my uncle, who was 9 years old, would be the usher. So that's what they did. And then once he got that set up, it was pretty much operated, pretty smoothly. It was not a full-time thing. He did a lot of work for Mr. Barstow. As a matter of fact, some people thought he was Mr. Barstow's bodyguard. And actually, I've been in your restaurant eating my lunch at one table. And we were just talking about people talking about stuff that they don't know anything about. And some guys at the next table were talking about Jim Diamond, and they were saying, yeah, he was a fight promoter and he was a boxer and all this stuff. Well, he did box, but he was never a fight promoter. And I've heard all kinds of stories about, actually there's a picture of our place on Facebook right now from the because our place was built in 24. And it had the second story over the garage building, and there were apartments up there. And then the bottom where the garages are now, those were storefronts. And then, as time went on, they changed it. That was 2-story. The second story got knocked off in the 33 hurricane, and Mariotti's building, which is now Citron Restaurant, that had the second story. It got knocked off too. So the DeFriend building, which was the Saldo building on the corner, which is now gone, that second story did not get damaged. But all those buildings were built around the same time in the 20s.
Did they think it was like a little tornado that just took that section and left Soldos? They didn't know.
Yeah. Paula in her book, Paula has some pictures that I had never seen that somebody, I think the Lesters or somebody gave it to her. They were the people that had the ice plant of the second story and the damage to the second story. It was still up there. But it was so hard in the 20s, and because the depression going on. That's right about the time. It's right after the whole Olympia land thing went down and everything. But 33, there was not. It was hard to get building materials. It was hard to get the money to build the stuff. So it was easier just to tear the top off. And the old stairwells are still in the garage, and it's like it was back in the 20s, except part of the roof is the plaster's gone where it caved in. And so anyway, so he went from the theater, and then he started working at the dock, did that for a while, and then he there was a garage on the island, and he started running a garage. They bought the bus, the 37 Ford bus, which we still have, and that's when they started the transportation business, which was transportation mostly from the train station. And they stored cars, and back then people would take their up north car that they used 5 years ago, and now was not the fanciest car for New York, and send it down here, so they had a car here. And then when they were gone in the summer, they'd store all these big old Packards and Cadillacs and stuff in this garage and put them up on blocks and do all that stuff. And then his brother had a garage in New York that they ran in the summertime, and then they did the freight business, with the train. Big people would send big trunks full of their gear down, and they had a big truck they'd load all the stuff on. The people would come. And so he did a lot of shipping and storage and stuff too. That's where the transfer part of Diamond Transfer and Garage came from. And then Mr. Anstis owned that property on the corner, and he was sort of big in the development of Hobe Sound. And he rented it first from Mr. Anstis, and then around 1940 he bought it from him. So. And then they moved off the island just to here. So.
Okay, look, I don't like this any more than you.
I turned mine off.
I forgot.
Anyway, so, and then they've been there ever since. And we pumped gas. I mean, it's funny because I'll have people stop in. I always wondered what you did here. Oh, really? When did you move here? I moved here in 1999. Like, that's a big deal. They've been here. 1999. Great. Well, we were still pumping gas. There was a big sign that said Texaco. So in 2007, we stopped doing the gas because my old pumps would only go up to $2.99. And when it hit $3 a gallon, it was at that time it was going to be $10,000 to upgrade the pumps. When you're making a nickel a gallon, that's a lot of nickels. And the insurance on the tanks was a lot of money, and we were going to have to pull everything out of the ground in 2009. So that's when we decided to call it a day on the gas. Well, I decided. I still get trouble for that.
Well, I think you did the right thing. And,
and then the limo business we ran right up until 2021. And COVID hit, and you saw what happened to the airplanes, and everything stopped. Well, that was our busiest month of the year, where we made all our money, and So we had to take a break, and I sold a bunch of the cars just because we owned everything, but they were just sitting there, and the insurance company said, well, you got to keep insurance on them.
Yep.
Well, so when it came back around, it was getting busy again, and I was looking at what it was going to take to crank back up. And yeah, I had to go buy 10 cars. Well, you know what happened to the price of cars. So we decided to move on, and now I always wanted to turn that place into an old car sort of destination, sort of fixing cars and stuff. So we're working on doing that, and that's where we are. And me, is that what you're getting ready to ask?
No,
Yeah.
keep going.
No, you go. Tell me.
No, I was going to say is when you were growing up, you know, like those stories of, you know, like your grandfather working on cars and everything else, you know, you probably remember some of those cars. Do you, you know, like you have some of them come back in or all of them are gone, you know?
Most of those cars are gone. And they, you know, he was not a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic, you know.
Yeah, you are. You're amazing. Well, if everybody calls you or comes by to figure it out. I just
learned how to do it by hanging around there, and so did it. He was a guy, he could listen to a car and knew exactly what was wrong with it just by listening to a car. Sometimes he would take a screwdriver and stick it on the engine and stick his ear up to it, you know. But he knew, and they had a mechanic who lived here and worked around here, and he did all the work for years. And that garage did a lot of work. I mean, and you're dealing with Jaguars and all those fancy old cars back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you know. So. And
he was always working on things.
Oh yeah.
The mechanic, I can't remember.
Bert. Yeah, Bert.
Yeah.
Bert had one finger, and he one finger that was a nub, and he used to scare us with that when we were kids. But you know, so I wasn't born in Hobe Sound. I was born in Daytona. My mom was teaching school in Daytona. My dad was an engineer for GE working on the space program. That's where they met. And I was born in Daytona. Actually, myself and the next two brothers were all born up there. And but we'd come down here all the time. Mm-hmm. And I can remember being here at Christmas time in my grandparents' house, which is still there. And what's that noise? What's that noise? It was the fire truck, and the fire truck pulled up to the house, and Santa Claus was on the fire truck and got off. And I don't know how that worked, but Santa Claus came on the fire truck to the house to come see us. And
you're a big deal when the fire truck comes with Santa Claus comes to you.
And then so my dad, as an engineer, he did a lot of government stuff. So we moved around when we were kids. And when we moved back to Florida in 1980, we moved to Melbourne because he was working up there. And I used to take the Greyhound bus from Melbourne, like a Friday after school. I'd walk to the bus station in Melbourne, get on the bus, take it down here, and I'd have to go to the front and tell the guy I wanted to stop in Hobe Sound, and they would stop right here at your parking lot. I'd get out, and then I'd walk into the gas station. I'd spend the weekend with them and working and doing stuff. And
how much was it to ride the bus?
I think it was like $6 or something. But it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't much. But to go back, so on Sunday night, you couldn't get the bus here. You had to go up to Stewart, and the bus station was on Monterey Road in Stewart, and I think where the Napa is now, there on Monterey. And I had a lot of interesting bus rides back and forth.
Did you? Oh, I bet. Some of the people on the bus are, wow. But some of the jobs you did then when you come down, you know, in the weekends, did you work on cars then, or what did you mainly do with your grandfather?
It was mostly pump gas for people. Yep. It's cleaned a lot of windshields.
Yep.
Because we do the whole full service, you know, clean the windshield, check the oil, check the tires, check this, check that, you know. And, you know, and then at that time it was like $7 worth of gas. Or,
Yep.
You know.
And that was a big one.
Yeah.
$7 was a lot.
And then when the mobile station opened, they were going to put us out of business. The guy told us, "We're going to put you out of business."
Yep.
Well, he was gone before we were gone. Anyway, but people would come in and they'd complain about the price of the gas. Well, we're buying, we're a little independent thing, and we were buying gas for more than that guy was selling it for. Because those big company stations, they don't get charged for the gas. We would get gas, it would be whatever, $2 a gallon. You're getting 9,000 gallons. You had to have a check for $18,000, which is a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Back then, it was a real lot of money. If the price of gas went down the next week, you're holding the bag. If the price went up, maybe you could make a little money on it, but our luck never ran
Very,
that
very
way.
seldom. It doesn't work that way.
Our luck's like your luck.
Yeah, it's so true.
So you'd have people come in and I can't believe you're charged this for gas. I'm making a nickel.
Yeah.
By the time you pay the taxes and all this stuff, not to mention the lights, the electricity, the guy, the insurance we had to buy. Well, the last year we did it, you're paying $10,000 just to have tanks in the ground.
Yep.
$10,000.
And then a lot of people charged. They didn't even pay. So then you went and wrote it down. So now you wrote down $4 or $7.
That was my first University of Florida finance degree business decision that I made.
No more.
Because we had these house charges and people would, so you get gas on the first of the month, $10.
Yep.
The end of the month, we got to send you a bill in the mail with a stamp. If you pay on time, you don't pay for another month. So that $10, which at that time was 5 gallons or so, 5 cents a gallon. So our 25 or 50 cents or whatever it is gone.
Gone. You lost money. You lost money.
So I said, we got to stop doing these house charges. If people want to charge, because it was convenient for a lot of people because they had people that worked for them could come in and charge the gas. And they didn't have to worry about giving them a credit card or whatever. I said, well, we'll put a credit card on file. You'll see all the charges, you'll know. Or give us $500 at the beginning of the month, and when it's gone, you can replenish it. And that worked out for a while, but a lot of people were not happy about that. But we would have people who...
Because they didn't understand it.
we would have people, and we did that for everybody. No, you didn't have to be, because some people say, oh, that's just Jupiter Island.
Nope.
No, it was everybody.
Everybody.
And people would come in and get their $10 worth of gas, wouldn't pay you for 3 months. They'd come in and say, I want to pay my $10 worth of gas. You'd pay, and then they say, give me $10 worth of gas. So you never
caught up.
So but for the most, it was fun, and I kind of miss doing it because you'd see everybody, all the time, and talk. My wife used to say, you should charge money, because people would come in and I'd listen to all their problems all day.
And then
psychiatrist, 5 cents.
You went out to pump gas, and you come back in 10 minutes later. What's wrong? Oh, well, this happened, everything else, and this happened, their dog, and you knew all the problems,
Well, and that was back when, that was even later on. It wasn't as close-knit. Like when my mom was growing up, everybody knew everybody and everything that, it was real close-knit. But everybody stuck together, too. If you needed something, everybody would help and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But the charging thing went away. And then the people would come in and say, oh, this gas is too expensive. Just give me, 2 gallons or something. Okay, give them the 2 gallons. But then they would want all the air checked in their tires, all the, stuff. So you'd spend a half hour servicing their car for 10 cents.
Yep. And your time was worth nothing to them.
Well,
Did you keep the book, the credit book that you had? You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, you knew what
Yeah.
you know. We had back then. They had a bookkeeper, and then we had a bookkeeper when I was there, and then eventually it got once things got computerized, it sort of,
Yeah.
you know. And one of the things is you're doing the bills, and you're like, oh, I did an oil change on that. I got to write a ticket for that and throw that in. You know, it's running a small business isn't easy.
No.
Because everybody's like, well, get somebody to do this, but you got to pay them.
Yep. Yep. Well, my mother she'd go over to the book and she'd keep looking, and then she'd say, if so-and-so paid us, we'd have this and everything else. And I took the book and I just threw it away. I go, stop. We're not going to get that money. That money's from 5 years ago. It's from 10 years ago.
I've had that conversation too.
How'd it go?
Yeah. Not any
good.
better than that. I still have that conversation.
I know it. So you graduated from University of Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, you come back here. Your mother says, I need help.
So
How'd that work out?
I'm at University of Florida. My grandfather got killed. I was there. I was supposed to graduate in 86. My grandfather got killed in 85. And, he was delivering a rental car
Right.
with the other thing we do, and
heartbreaker.
got hit by the drunk driver. And he was older. But he was still a great driver and still with it and everything. And everybody thought it was his fault because he was the older guy. The lady was not. She was drunk. Anyway, so...
And went across the line. Went across into him.
And a friend of ours who was a fireman he went to that scene. He saw the whole thing. And anyway, so I came back then because they needed help during the season. It was just my grandmother and my mom, because when we were Melbourne, once we were all off doing our own thing, my mom would come down and help them, her parents, because, so she'd come down for a few days and go back up for a few days, back and forth. Anyway, so I did that and then got out of school and then went to Tampa, and I was going to put my finance degree to work, and they're like, can you come back and help us again? So that was 87, and I'm here still.
Give us a couple years. Still here.
Yeah. Got married in 89. We rented first. We rented, Jim Young had the apartment upstairs, what's now the Juneau Shoe Girl. There were apartments up there, which was a great apartment for us. And then we got the chance, because nothing, there was never anything for sale in Hobe Sound. It was like there was nothing in Zeus Park, which is what they call it now. But back then it was Hobe Sound.
Well, what was there probably in there? 30 homes?
Yeah, it was all lots.
25 or 30.
Yeah, it was all lots. And that was a funny story at the gas station. So we had this old canoe that was at that cabin in New Jersey, old wooden canoe, wooden with canvas covered, and I wanted to restore it. And the wooden boat school in Maine had a thing. You could go up there for like a week, and you could camp there, and they would teach you how to restore. By the end of the week, you would be pretty much done with your restoration of your canoe. I thought, that's really cool, because I like doing that kind of stuff, canoeing. And so we had saved up our money to go to I think it was like $2,500 or something like that. And I'm at the gas station one day, and this guy comes in, and he's all excited, and I fill it up, and I'd never seen the guy before. I said, man, you're really excited. He goes, yeah, I'm a real estate agent, and I just got my first listing. I said, oh, really? Where? He goes, in this old neighborhood over here. Pumped the gas. I said, let's go.
Oh.
They hadn't even put the for sale sign on the house.
No.
So we go, knock on the door. The lady comes in, and he said, this guy wants to look at the house. So she let us in. We looked in, and her son was in the shower, and he came out of the bathroom with a towel. I was like, ah! And that's how we used the money from the wooden boat school towards the down payment on the house.
So never got the wooden boat fixed.
It's still hanging from the rafters at the garage.
But you got a house, but you don't have the wooden boat fixed.
Well, the house has lasted us this long.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we had to do some work to it, but
A lot of work. And it's a beautiful house. But
it's a good house. Yeah.
Yep,
It's fun.
it's a great house.
So yeah,
So-
I mean, Hope
so-
Sound's
so-
been good to us. It was great for our kids to grow up here.
Two kids.
Two kids went to school at
Amazing.
the Early Learning Center, and then which was then Hope Sound Child Care, and then Hope Sound Elementary, Murray Middle, the whole bit, South Fork, and they love Hope Sound. They want to come back, and actually they just bought a house on our street, which is amazing. So
It's amazing.
yeah, and then it's been a good life here. Hope Sound has changed quite a bit and continues to change.
Changing very fast. And we tried to incorporate it. And boy, we got some pushback on that.
Yeah, and we thought we had done what 3 or 4 different things where the comp plan was under attack, and we had to marshal everybody and get everybody excited and go up to county meetings and protest, and the last thing I did, I think, was that the last thing we did was that water ski thing they wanted to open.
Yep.
And which was fine. Nobody cared if you opened a water ski thing, but what it would have changed with the comp plan would have opened it up. There'd be a truck stop out there and all kinds of stuff.
It would have.
And so that's when we decided. I remember standing at the gas station. A lot of stuff happens either here at your place or at the gas station.
Yep.
And I was talking to Michael Ennis, and I think Harold pulled in, and we said, we need to incorporate. And we thought it was the best idea ever. And we, apparently it wasn't.
And now everybody blames us. Why can't you do something about it?
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it, if the rules are the rules, and you own a piece of property, and the rules say you can do this with it, well, then you can do that.
You can do it.
I mean, I like to see green space, and I don't like to see stuff built that doesn't have enough parking. They keep adding stuff downtown, and nobody has parking. We're the only place that has parking. And they wanted to put parking take part of my right of way on Bridge Road and put in parking spots, and I said I don't need parking spots. I've got a whole parking lot. Well, I said, let them do it.
Let them do it. Well, don't take from me.
So if those are the rules, then let them do it. The thing is with the town is we could have set our own rules, and we could have said, okay, in this place you can only build whatever. This is, we would have had our own comp plan for Hope Sound. The taxes would have been paid for, by the taxes. The sales tax, instead of going to Martin County, would go to us. It all worked out, and it was all shown on paper, and people just were not interested, and that's why we have a democracy. If you're not interested, you vote no. And call us all kinds of names and bad stuff.
2 weeks ago, I had a guy come in here, and he goes at 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning, there's 100 cars on Bridge Road trying to get into Hope Sound. What are you going to do about it? I said, call DOT. And he says, you got to do something. And I said, why? I said, no, I got nothing. I said, that's DOT's problem. I said, that's not me.
And I think one of the best things is Loxalushi buying up all this property.
Absolutely.
I've said that for a while. If you want to preserve a place, if you don't want to see it develop, well, then buy it and pay the taxes on it, but leave it alone.
Absolutely. And Martin County forever.
Yeah.
I mean, and we just had that one property that the state's buying, so we're not even using our money for it. The state is, but that
I don't trust the state.
Well, we're on the same page there, but luckily I don't deal with them. But I just I like it that we're saving a lot of property that is
that's
gonna
the
make
only way.
difference.
That's
Yep.
the only way it's going to get saved is if you buy it and you just designate it as environmental land or environmental trust or however, and it's the same with all this ag land.
Yep.
If you got a guy who's got a farm and he's struggling, with the stuff that farmers have to struggle with, and you say, well, we can give you tax breaks and incentives, but this has got to stay farmland forever. That's a great deal for a lot. I mean, you look at like Adams Ranch and a lot of these places that are heritage farming, agriculture, cattle communities, and they do that. It's a great thing, but that's the only way to do it, because if you don't give people incentives, a lot of times they can't. They have no other choice. They got to sell it to somebody who's going to develop it.
But then again, like Palm Beach County, they did that, the ag reserve, and then Pulte Homes comes in and they just keep buying it out, and they said, we're trading you. They buy land on Belle Glade and they trade for it, and so you get nothing, and they just keep developing it.
Yeah, well, you got to have rules about the trading and all that.
Oh, this is, whether it's a county or state or federal, we don't trust any of them.
Yeah.
But we love our quality of life here, and we do everything we can to save it. I mean, that's
it's definitely changing. There's a lot more people coming, and there's and some people have a different attitude because they're coming from other that was the thing when they first started the CRA, and they everybody was afraid that we're going to turn into Del Rey. Some people want us to turn into Del Rey, but you got to look at all the things that come along with Del Rey. Parking, you got increased crime and all that other stuff,
Well, you look at your neighborhood, our neighborhood, when your kids were little, to walk around the block took you a half hour or more because everybody talked to you.
Yeah.
Every neighbor. Now people walk by right in front of your house with a dog or just walking, and you say hi, and they do not
they
even look.
They look at you like you're crazy.
And I thought, why did you move?
Not
here?
all of them. Some people say hello, but some people say hello and they look at you and walk faster.
And
Like, come on.
I know. They want that neighborhood, but they don't want it. They wherever they came from, they can't change from. Is what I'm getting to, and that's too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad. If you come here to kind of get the lay of the land, that's like it's like I was saying before. People go, I never knew what you did there. Well, come on in, say hello, and introduce yourself, and I'm happy to talk to you, and show you around, and show you what we're doing, and
I had one come by last week. He's been here since 90-something, and he says, I drove by and I never knew what this was. He says, I just came in. He's walking around.
Well, you still have a sign. I don't even have a sign anymore.
So I just went like this, and I said, do you want something to drink? And he says, I have a cup of coffee. And he says, and he wanted oatmeal milk or whatever. And I go, you're in the wrong place. I says, I have milk from Okeechobee, from Sutton Dairy. I says, well, I'll try it. I go, here we go. And now we know why you haven't been here, But it's funny, all the people that, they haven't adjusted to us the way we've had to adjust to them.
Right. And everybody's, there's no, you're not welcome here. But it's like if you go to Hawaii, you want to be treated right, you got to treat other people, because the aloha thing goes two ways. It's the same thing. Hobe Sound aloha.
It goes two ways too.
And it's just, it's hilarious, going back to the tales you hear from other people. I remember we built I called it the sampan, the beach car. Your brother called it the Hilo taxi.
Yep.
Based on the taxis in Hilo, and I was doing a wedding down in Jupiter, and had to take everybody from it was at Jonathan's Landing or something like that, right on the water. And then they all went to, everybody after the weddings down there goes to Square Grouper, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I'm standing by the car waiting for these people. And I usually, when I do a wedding, like when I had the old Buick limo and the old Cadillac limo, I'd be in a suit and everything. But I was wearing a Hawaiian, an Aloha shirt and khakis, you know. And these people, and they're all young people, and these people are like, "Hey, it's that guy." And they're like, "What guy?" "Yeah, that guy. The guy on the corner. You know, the guy with the tall socks. He's worn the same clothes for the last 20 years. I remember when I was a little kid."
No.
Because I'm wearing a black shirt and khakis on the corner, just like you wear your checkered shirt.
We're just.
It was funny when they had the whole. I told our friend Billy, they were having the whole rapture thing. I said I should go out there and put a black shirt and shorts laying on the concrete.
Oh, that's
that
good.
bad? Sorry.
I love it. I love it. You know, and I don't know whether we want to talk about this or we need to get more board members, but the train depot.
Yeah. Well, it's history.
Oh yeah. Well, we need to preserve it. But I'm just.
It's very important to me because my family. I mean, the train station was a big part of what my family did between meeting people there and taking people there and with the bus, and then doing all the luggage. And a gentleman came in to see me, and he wanted to donate a bunch of stuff to what will be our museum there. And his grandfather was the depot agent from 1939 through the late 40s after the war. And he was also the agent for the Camp Murphy station down where Jonathan Dickinson, that was the radar base. And he's pictures, a telegraph key, a typewriter, and there's a copy of a telegram, and he mentions my grandfather. So Jim Diamond said he'd give me a rental car if I ever needed one, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it was important to us, so I would like to see it. Everybody in town is very excited to see it preserved. And the Hurley family, who owned Becker Groves, or still owns Becker Groves, donated it to the Historical Society. Historical Society did not have a piece of property to put it on. And we tried for a while to come up with something that would be in town, and it was not going to happen. And then that piece where it is now, I spoke to the commissioner, who was Harold Jenkins at the time, about that piece because they were planning on using that triangle. And they're still, it's going to be, part of it is going to be a retention area because in heavy rains, that whole area floods. And I thought it'd be cool to put on pilings in the middle of the retention area. So underneath, you'd have this basically dry lake, and then you could have walkways out and kind of be floating out there. But the county did what their thing, and it is where it is. So they donated it. Discovery paid for it to be moved and paid for it to be, so there was a lot of donation there. But the problem is it looks really good from the outside, but it needs some work on it. The whole lower part of that building is not original, and we want to put it back to original. It's going to be a museum. We want it as accurate as possible. That's all got to be replaced. The backside where they had put an addition on the county paid for that to be done. Basically, the county put it in place, put it on the foundation, put the deck that's there now, and fix that back wall. The inside's basically got to be gutted to go back to the original floor plan with the original materials. And
and then one part of the floor has to come down where the bathrooms are because they were at the lower level. There's a picture. It's actually, they've got it, if anybody wants to go look on the side of that electrical box by the intersection at Bridge. The old picture shows that the depot getting moved, and you can see the two levels. The higher level is the luggage area. So one of our problems was to figure out how to make that ADA accessible so we can use it. Otherwise, it would just be a storeroom or something. So we were lucky, and Scott Hughes donated his services, and we worked together and came up with a plan to make it all work. Bert Krebs donated his services for the landscape design, so that was great for both of them. And then we've got some of the contractors are going to donate partial services or equipment. I mean, everybody's working to make it happen, but it's still, the county won't let us start on it till we raise the budget, which is $1 million. And you know, I've already heard from people, well, you can get this for less. Well, if you can get it for less,
Get it
for less and tell me about it.
Tell us how to do it.
But we're still going to have to raise the money. We've raised about $100,000 so far. We're going to have another open house on the 14th of March there. Let everybody see it and see what we need to do. I'm going to try and talk to the county to see if we can start doing some of the work with the $100,000 we have. They just don't want us to get in a situation where we've hired somebody, they do the work, and then we owe them money, and it's their building. You know, so we got to prove that we have the money. Mike Ennis is going to be the contractor on the job,
Right.
And he did the Banner Lake Club, the historic Banner Lake Club. He has done a bunch of houses down in Northwood and El Cid down there, so he's very familiar.
He's great
with that stuff. And Mike Bingman's going to do the painting, and I think he's going to do Ranger. Ronnie already got us some equipment from Train that they're going to donate. So, and we're trying to get in touch with some FEC people to donate, because we would like to put a track in front, and hopefully we can get FEC to donate the rail and the installation. And then the pie in the sky dream is to eventually get a rail car out there. There is a what they call a tavern lounge car, and you know, everybody was like, you should get a locomotive. Well, a locomotive is just a big chunk of metal that's going to rust.
No good.
Kids are going to want to climb on it and fall off and break their arms. And
a
tavern lounge car is another building, and it's got a lot of seats, and so you can expand your exhibits. You can expand, you know, when the building is going to be available for people to use. We're, you know, rent out the space. So if somebody wanted to have a wedding there or an event there, it's going to be a beautiful park and space. You can kind of see what you can do, because we had the tent set up at the last one. You can see how that space could be utilized. Where the museum's theme is going to be basically Hobe Sound's history based around the railroad and how it affected, which it basically, you know, Hobe Sound was pineapple fields until we're working on trying to find there's a bunch of documents at University of Florida. I went through some documents at FSU. We hired a researcher up there because it's cheaper to hire somebody up there than for somebody to travel, get a hotel, and blah blah blah. But the precursor to the Hobe Sound Company, which was the Indian River Association Ltd. It was an English company. And Hobe Sound Company bought them out. Their records are up at UF, and I'm hoping that that's what we're going to try and do this spring, is have a researcher, I've got the name of a guy up there, go through and see any references to the train station, because like Town of Jupiter, Jensen, Stewart, those were towns at the time, and there are letters from the town to FEC. We want a train station this big. How much is it going to cost? Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing like that for Hobe Sound because there's no town records.
Yep.
Because, again, we're not a town. So most of the property at that time was owned by the Indian River Association, which was, before that, was the Indian River Pineapple and Coconut Grove Association.
Do you have any of the pineapple wrapping paper?
Yeah, you gave me some of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which will, I have it, actually, it's in the safe at work.
Okay.
I'm just going to frame it and hang it up on
Just
the,
making sure.
because all that, I mean, our place was pineapples.
Yep.
It was all pineapples.
All pineapples, yeah.
And it was all, Gomez Grant was 1820. It got, as soon as Florida became a territory in 1821, Gomez sold out to two different people, and then that changed to three different people, and all of those claims were tied up in court for years and years and years, because he just took money from people, and there were different reasons that, one guy nobody could ever find him, and he owned 4,000 of the 12,000 acres, and yeah. So basically in the 1880s, the Indian River Association came in, or the Pineapple and Coconut Grove Association basically put it all through court and put it together into one big chunk, except for there are some random lots that were owned by people who specifically had title to them. And then once they got it, they owned the whole thing. And then the pineapples didn't work out. And then they had started the club over there, which was not the private club. It was more of a hotel, the Island Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tangerine Theater was called the Tangerine Grove. It was kind of like not really a nightclub, but sort of like a dance kind of nightclub. And people would come on their boats and go there and stay till 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah, there's records of that stuff. There's, before the Stewart News, the paper, and you can get those records. The Stewart News still has those records. They talk, they have like the society page, and it was so-and-so came down, and people who lived in Hobe Sound went there. It was a lot different than it is now. So anyway, that's the train depot. So come out in March and see our budget, and if you can tell me how to make it less, please do.
Yeah. Or if if we can somehow do a fundraiser here or something, or if you just want to have a question and answers about it or something, if any kind of thought you have of doing something here.
Yeah. Love to.
We'd love to be a part of it.
Because we have we met the first goal of our option, which was to have the plans, the budget, and the development schedule of redoing the building by the end of the last year, 2025. Now we have 3 years to raise the money. We would like to do it in 1 year.
Yes.
Well, $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but if you get 100 people give $10,000, you got $1 million. And go the other way, you get 10,000 people to give $100. Yep. There you go. And Hobe Sound, the unincorporated Hobe Sound has a when we were doing that back in 2017, it was 15,000 people, I think, were permanent residents. So, if all those 15,000 people gave us $100,
you're
we'd
good.
be there.
Yep.
And like I said, we've got some generous people donate some pretty good sized donations. So we're up to $100,000 right now.
Now, if we could get if we can, as soon as it gets going too, if we could, it's.
Well, the big thing is to keep up. We've got to keep up the pressure and keep up.
And that's not easy.
No,
we got to work together.
And asking people for money is terrible. I hate doing that.
I hate it. That's the most miserable thing in the world. Some people like it. I hate it. I couldn't be a salesman, that's for sure.
No. I'm a terrible. People come to buy a car. They're, look at these old cars, and I end up talking to most people. This is not the right.
You won't want it.
I don't think you want this car.
This isn't for you. I thought you were selling it. I am, but just not to you. You're going to be back in 2 weeks and blame me for something, and I don't want to sell it to you.
So.
And they come up with every excuse in the world, what? Yeah, you don't want to buy it. We're not selling it to you. Well, I'll tell you what, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. I think we need to continue this on with more things and continue.
Sure. Anytime.
I would like to have more stories. Your mother has some great stories about riding the pony and all the stuff she does.
Oh,
and
she
is amazing.
She had an interesting time growing up in this town, because when they came, my uncle, I think, was 9 and my aunt was 4 or 5. Wow. But my mom was born here.
Yeah.
She was one of the first babies born in the Stewart Hospital.
Wow.
Which was started by the Barstows too. And so this was Hobe Sound growing up. That was, that was her life. And that place was, because she basically, well, when it was the bar, they didn't let her go there too much. She had to tell them because you could come in the back door, and she had to let them know that she was there, And the bar lasted till, I don't know, through the late 50s. Well, probably mid 50s. Yeah. My grandmother hated the bar. Well, they were trying to pump the gas, trying to run, airports or train stuff, and then the Stewart Airport. And then, you got a couple guys sitting in the bar nursing a beer for 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid riding back and forth to the beach when Jim Diamond finally waved to you. It was like the best thing, because he was just the nicest guy in the world. He was the nicest guy, and he'd lean out against the gas pump. Then they'd see, and when you got this, Jim Diamond waved to me. It was like the greatest thing,
He's a pretty good guy, and they used to
He's
have
a great guy.
all that candy in there when we were kids. We'd come down, and he had cigar boxes because he smoked cigars until they told me he had to stop smoking. So he'd get a cigar box, and he'd pack it full of all this candy, like a puzzle. And each of you would get your own cigar box full of candy. It was better than Halloween, better than those cigar boxes. Yeah.
Wow.
Full of candy.
I love it.
And I don't really even like candy.
Yeah. But you did then when you got it from him. It was that special.
Great. Yeah.
It was so special for you.
I learned to drive there, driving.
Wow.
Yeah. One time I was probably 13 years old, and I was there working. I said, move that car from there to there. And it was like an old Granada or something. And I got in, and you know how the gas pedal kind of sticks just a little?
Yeah.
And I was supposed to just back it up a little, and I hit the gas, and it didn't go. And then all of a sudden it went across Bridge Road. There's a telephone pole that used to be, now they have those big concrete poles right there, and it had a guy wire up the guy wire. And he just looked, and you knew he was mad. He would take off his hat, because he always wore that, and
Yep.
throw it on the ground. but never yell, never get her down there. But I mean, if somebody, luckily then nobody in the summertime, you could stand at Bridge Road, and nobody did because there was no people.
Nobody was around. And I mean, you could say, there goes so-and-so and where they were going. Yeah. You knew where they were going. They're going to the beach. They're going this. This is, they're done with work. You know where everybody was going. And lots changed.
Yeah. Now you can't. I mean, sometimes I'm parked in front and I got to get out to go around and it'll take me 15 minutes just to get out of my own parking lot.
Yeah. Your grandfather he would not understand it. He would go, what?
He was pretty good about changing with the times. He was pretty forward thinking.
Yeah.
He could that's why I think he would, kind of, my opinion is he was kind of understand what, you got to move with the times and do things different.
A lot
which is what his whole life was,
Forward thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say with the movies and everything else.
Yeah.
If that's not forward thinking, what is?
Yeah.
I remember being a kid and we drove by the fairgrounds and that, and my dad said they should take that airport and they should move it west of Palm City or west of Hobe Sound. And he goes, that whole thing should be the Martin County Center and everything else, all that thing, and that should be the fairgrounds and everything else. I thought, oh, you're crazy. But 25 years later, I went, yeah, that was a pretty good idea.
Well, when they put the elementary school on the other side of the tracks, he was dead against that. Because he said if there's ever a problem and a kid gets hurt and there's a train, because, trains would get stopped. Yep. He goes, the fire engine won't be able to get, the ambulance won't be able to get over there. Or police won't, That's a terrible place for it. So they were, a lot of those guys,
Yep.
they had,
They were thinking ahead. I'm just saying about traffic. We never thought we'd have traffic like this, and we just have to adjust because it's coming even faster.
Yeah. And, traffic and parking. That's the big thing now is, you got a piece of property and you're allowed to put whatever you're allowed to put on to it, but they need to make sure that there's enough parking.
Because it's not. And
there was one place that went in and they said, my wife talked to the lady from the CRA and they said, well, they have 12 parking spaces and we think that's enough. And now they use like 100 parking spaces. They're parking in people's yards. And
12 parking places.
That's enough. Look at us old curmudgeons here.
I know, but it's just common sense that you need more parking spots than that is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, the older I get, the more I'm like my father, and I look like him, so, no harm.
I was standing at the on the front there, and Rhonda pulled up. She taught my kids in school and stuff, and we were talking about something, and all of a sudden she said, "Oh my God!" She said, "You look like your grandfather." I was like, "Oh, I guess we're not getting any younger."
I know, very cool. I love it. Well, let's set this up and do it again with maybe if we can get
anytime
Harold and a few others in here. Like I said, I've been begging some of the others to talk Hobe Sound history and try to get this going. We need to get this history down. And so, love it. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Happy to do it.
Hello, we're recorded from Harry and the Natives Restaurant in Hobe Sound, Florida. It's a family restaurant. My family's run it 73 years. It's an 85-year-old restaurant, and just come and see us sometimes. Thank you. This is Bob.
And we're upstairs in the Tiki Hut, so you can come in, and we'd love to have you come up and tell your story. I'm with O'Donnell Impact Windows and Storm Protection, and we do, I know it sounds confusing, but we do impact windows and storm protection. And our slogan is, and please remember at O'Donnell, it's our family protecting your family. So I promise you, if you use us, we'll never embarrass you. If you refer us, we'll never embarrass you. We get the job done right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.